Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are so excited for you to join us tonight. Welcome back to our bi-monthly Ask Us Anything live stream. We have so much good stuff to you tonight for you planned, and I can't wait to jump right into it. So I'm going to go ahead and give you just a brief little insight. I wanted to show you guys that we are on Twitter, and so you can connect with us there at Ask Us Anything ET. And without further ado, let's go ahead and meet the team.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maria Etheridge.
I'm Jenna Ashley.
I'm Pilar Hernandez.
Mel?
Am I trying to speak in and out of my mouth? Hello.
And I'm
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the team. Here's the reality of it all. We are a bunch of passionate EdTech individuals who are aiming to just kind of spread our expertise, give you guys some insight into what we are all about. And the greatest part is this. A lot of us have amazing EdTech tools that we use both in our own practice. We've also conversed with individuals out on EduTwitter, got some questions about them, and tonight is going to be all about lesson design and delivery. I wanted to introduce myself first and also engage you all in the chat. So first and foremost, let us know. This is a one has to go activity, which happens to go over really well and spurs a lot of great conversation for your students. One has to go. So I want you to take a look at the items 1, 2, and 3, and let us know if you had to eliminate one of those items, what would it be? While you guys do that, I'm Shannon Moore, and I teach high school English and speech. I'm also a site tech coach, and I'm really, really happy to be here. So give us a shout out in the chat. What would you like to eliminate? Pizza, tacos, or burgers? Looks like some people say tacos. I can't get behind the no tacos idea. What about you, Rick? Are you a taco fan?
I am. I'd have to say 3's got to go for me. I mean, I love meats and burgers, but if the choice is one of them has to go, it's going to be burgers.
Well, it looks like Leslie, all the way from down under, agrees with you. Too much bread on the burgers. Sharon's here as well. Welcome, Sharon. We have tacos from Sharon. Shirley says none. They all have to stay. I like your style, Shirley. I like your style. We also have Kriya Kicks from that say tacos as well. I would have to say personally pizza, but don't tell my husband. He would be furious with me. He's a big fan of pizza. Alrighty, guys. Let us know also in the chat where you're from. Where are you joining us from? What do you do in education? And what are you most looking forward to getting out of this session? Is there something specific regarding lesson design and delivery that you're eager to share? We would love to know. So let us know in the chat. We're going to continue on. And I just wanted to briefly kind of talk about the why behind and the what behind what we're planning on doing today. So the goal or objective of today's live stream is to answer questions about the power of design and delivery of content in the classroom. Now, for years, as all of us are educators up here in one capacity or another, we all have spent countless hours, I'm sure, designing lessons that are engaging and interesting. And many of us have learned a lot of information about it over the years. And that's kind of where we're coming from today. We're trying to give you all kind of insight into the best way you can, plan lessons. And also, one thing that I feel like a lot of educators leave out is this idea of delivery design, stimulating the minds and the visual centers, auditory centers of our students. And so we're really going to talk about that today. Let us know in the chat also, do you like to use, or what platform for creation of, like, say, slide decks do you like to use? Are you a Slides Go, Slides Mania? Do you stick with the generic templates on Google Slides? Are you more of a Microsoft PowerPoint? What about Prezi? Let us know. One thing that I did want to point out here is that I was reading through and I found that 89% of what people learn comes through visual stimulation, 10% through audible stimulation, and 1% through the other senses. And so for those individuals that say, you know, lesson design isn't as important as the content you're delivering, we would beg to differ, because data shows and evidence shows that visual and auditory stimulation are just as important as the content that you're teaching. And then finally, one last note, and we're going to go ahead and I'm going to pass it off to my awesome co-panelists here. But Orson Welles, infamous director, producer, etc., filmmaker, he said, create your own visual style, let it be unique for yourself and yet identifiable for others. The message here, everybody, is this. You really, really, really need to rely on your own artistry in the classroom. I think a lot of new educators come into the profession thinking I need to mimic all of the people down the hall to ensure that I have the best lesson. The reality is this: if you're not true to yourself and you don't let your artistry in the classroom shine, your lessons are never going to be the best that they can be. So keep that in mind as we travel through tonight. Please ask your questions in the chat, and we look forward to jumping in. So here we go. Thank you, Leslie. Absolutely. Our uniqueness is our superpower. I couldn't agree more. All right, so I'm going to pass it on over. First up, we're going to go ahead and throw it over to Maria to talk about graphics and making your lessons design graphic. Awesome.
Okay, thanks, Shannon. For me, I'm a visual learner, so it is important for me that it's visually appealing, and I think probably a majority of people are visual learners. I've got a few tips there you can see in the GIF, just things that you need to consider when you're doing your designs, and also something that you can teach your students as well to consider. So I think it is important to actually teach and not assume that the students need these things. So you can see there that as well as the GIF, I talk about points to consider, the balance of space. I come from a graphic design background many moons back, another lifetime. So the visual appeal I consider. The readability of it, the fonts you choose, the colours you choose, you have to consider your audience. When I talk about readability, I also think about using that differentiation. Think about your students that may have certain needs, and you could perhaps introduce audio into that as well for your presentations. Your size and text font, your colours, your quality of your pictures and your GIFs can be off-putting if they're really fuzzy, grainy, unless you're going for that effect. Another thing that is really, really important to teach our students, and that we should be modelling ourselves, is about copyright. So there are so many different sites that you can use to make sure that your images are copyright appropriate, or you can go through the advanced search settings when you're using Google Images. And just a little tip, if you're using Google Slides, those items that you search for when you're inserting an image through the web already have copyright in place. So that is a bonus. So the challenge I set you when you are doing your design is think about the diversity of your audience and cater for that. So try to import different sensory experiences for your audience. Any questions?
Doesn't look like it so far. Go for it. Let us know about getting creative.
Okay. So I've just chosen a few suggestions here, and you'll see a few more through this presentation. I've also got a QR code up there, so you're even welcome to scan that right now, and you will see the thing link live of this little presentation. So each of these products that I have up there, I also have a link to their home webpage, and then I have a YouTube example of different people that have used these products. So the first one, Adobe Spark. This is a great product. I know, Shannon, you're a fan, and I know Alfonso out there. I don't think he's in, but also together, both of those are going on a bit of Adobe journey and creative journey. Adobe Spark is so easy to use. It's web-based, so it's across platforms. I actually use it for my Google Innovator application and learned it on the spot, so I hadn't used it before. It is that easy. You can also add audio to Adobe Spark as well. The next one, Bitmoji. Shout out to Jen Hall, who is the Bitmoji queen. Any questions you have about Bitmoji or great examples, check out her Twitter handle. I'll add all of these to the chat in a moment. But Bitmoji is a way of connecting with your students because it's speaking their language. It's something that they use, particularly if they use Snapchat a lot. So it's very familiar to them, and therefore it's engaging to use that as part of your presentations. Like the Bitmoji classrooms have gone off tap. So that just shows you that it's engaging. Another one is Flipgrid. I love Flipgrid. Mel loves Flipgrid. Flipgrid is a tool that you use to gain video response. The reason why I love Flipgrid is because it gives a voice to students that may be quieter in a public arena usually. You can get the students to respond either as it being in a public arena or it can be private. So it's just a communication between the teacher and the student. It's a very engaging tool, and you can make it all snazzy with emojis and backgrounds and borders. So it's a bit of a creative outlet there too, which they love. Google Slides. Am I going too fast, guys?
No, I'm
you're perfect.
all of it.
Right. Google Slides. Google Slides. I'm sure majority of people out there are familiar with Google Slides. There's a lot of extensions that you can add on to Google Slides that makes it even more flexible and appealing. So you can incorporate all your Bitmojis. You could use something like Moat to add your audio. The possibilities are endless. People may not realize about using slides beyond a presentation tool, but you could use it to create your posters and graphics just as a standalone by just looking at the page setup. So it is a very versatile tool. The next one is Book Creator. I love Book Creator. A few years back, I used Book Creator for my grade 6s to create for their prep buddies, or I don't know what you guys may call it, the first year of, in Australia, the first year of school, the preps, and the year 6s have a buddy system to support the preps into their schooling journey for their first year. So I got the grade 6s to make their own book for their preps as a go-away present at the end of the year. So they wrote their own story, they illustrated their own story, and they put their voice over it as well. So it was a very personal gift. So it just shows the capabilities of Book Creator. It's also a tool that teachers could use and students could work through a book that they've created. You could put your own voice on it, or it could be you can use the function of Book Creator itself where it will just read out the text. So again, it's a great way of catering for the diverse needs of your students. And my last one is Powtoon. Powtoon I use way back in university is when I first, actually university wasn't that long ago for me, to be honest, but Powtoon is a online tool as well. Really super easy to use. People think it's just animation, but you can do so much more with it. I really recommend, it's free. All of these are free. I really recommend having a look at the website and look at the capabilities of Powtoon. The kids love it as well. It's quite funky and straightforward for them to use.
So incredibly awesome. So many great resources. And again, we will send a Wakelet, kind of push a Wakelet out on our Twitter after this live stream. So if you're not following @Ask Us Anything ET, we would encourage you to go right now onto Twitter and follow us there so that we can go ahead and share all these goodies to you. So many great resources given, but also so many great things shared in the chat. Like so many people using so many cool things for lesson design and really kind of capturing the essence of what it means to not only make it visually appealing, but catering to the needs of those different learners that we're encountering. So thank you guys so much for engaging in the chat. We love hearing from you. Keep it up. We're going to go ahead and transition just a little bit. So we're moving out of this graphic design element, which we're so grateful for everything you shared, Maria. And we're moving into video design with Mr. Rick Ballou. So you're up, bud.
Hey, that's me. I'm gonna talk a little bit about one of my favorite tools that I found called Prezi Video. For many of you, you ended up doing a lot of your teaching kind of like this, or in grid view, right? And then you would present something over on this side, and that got a little dull. But if you were able to, something you can do is use Prezi Video so that you can create lessons where it's just you, right? And you can have your content be right next to you. So for example, I want to see if this allows me to do it. Hey, there it did it. Cool beans. All right, so do you see next to me? Right there? Am I pointing right? It says content. So you can, within the Prezi app, you'll need to do it on like Mac or PC. It's not going to work on your Chromebook, but you can do stuff like this, just add it into your picture window. And then if you have the slides set up ahead of time, you can just add stuff so that there's more content. You can zoom in and out of it. So like here, before it said content, but if I really want to emphasize it, content, right? So it kind of zips in and out of frame for you. You can then proceed to the next thing and really focus in on more content, right? And then what's also kind of cool is, even though I'm doing this now live, you can record this and it records right within Prezi Video. So you can record whatever you're doing with the stuff flying in and out, right? You can record that and then it'll post to pretty much any LMS, because you can download it as like in just a typical MPEG-4 or whatever your thing uses. And then I'm right now using it as an example for live lessons, because you can do this and you can also add stuff like content. You can add pictures too, right? And then be able to zoom in on said pictures and then really discuss what's going on. But if you want to get all fancy with it, you can change as you go. Let's say a student then asks a question. You could then come up with an answer, right? And then there's the answer. I was able to add said answer just now. And then if you don't like the way this looks, I like the little cartoon feel, right? It comes with a bunch of different templates so that you can flip in and out. So it says different things. Like that's one look you can go with. This one I think looks pretty fancy. Looks like breaking news, stuff like that. So it has all sorts of fancy templates you can change around with. And it's just another little tool in your toolbox to make it look interesting and engaging, because otherwise this can kind of get old, right? Teaching in our square. But you can kind of spruce up your square, and Prezi Video is really good at doing that. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
That's fantastic. Do you find, because I'm curious just from somebody who, is currently zooming in, do you find that you need to close tabs, or do you have any like tips and tricks to make it function at its highest capacity while you are streaming?
Yes. My recommendation is, because I'm right now, we're on StreamYard in Chrome, and then I have Prezi running also. If you don't have a pretty decent processor, it's all going to come to a grinding halt. In fact, I noticed something. I was using this for a meet that I was doing with my students. and the meet was recorded. And what ended up happening was the visuals were all fine, but it was fully looked dubbed, right? So you would see my face, my mouth move, and then the words would come. You know what I mean? And it wasn't a subtle difference either. It was like almost a full second of, and that's what we're going to do this week. You know what I mean? And so, and that was all just the recording on Google Meet. So it's neat, but you know, there are those caveats that the technology kind of will hamstring you sometimes, but otherwise it's pretty fun.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, no, I think that, you know, every time we see it and every interaction that, you know, you use it for, I think everybody's minds are a little blown. And if you've watched the chat at all, you've seen just the epicness of, you know, how excited people are. So it's a fan favorite. Rick, thank you for sharing. Thanks. And do you think that, you know, have you found anything maybe that you're exploring since you're the Badge King that you're exploring that like maybe has similar capabilities, or are you going to stick with PreziVidi for now?
Something else I found is and no, I didn't stutter that, and which is not something you should say. Anyway, but MMHMM, right, is a name of an app that is also free for educators that allows you to do all sorts of neat stuff. You can also, like, it'll let you do green screen. The reason I'm not sitting in front of Luis's house, which is what I usually do when we're on StreamYard, is I'll set up my green screen and with StreamYard use the green screen. But with PreziVideo, it doesn't work. MMHMM does work pretty well with a green screen. Yeah, I've also found that it's a fun way to keep track of. I've been in meetings that are like this, and when we get the like the agenda ahead of time, I'll make a slide for each one of those, and that I will do to try to keep everyone on task, because I'm like, nope, we're at this point, you know, and I'll point to where I am in the box saying, nope, we're not going back. We move forward. So it's another fun way to do it too.
Awesome. Love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I've heard you've mentioned that a few times. We just popped it in the chat for you guys if you're interested in exploring. But just letting you know, a lot of awesome things. We're going to continue to forge forward. So we have graphic images, how to make those awesome, and all the different platforms you can use there. We have PreziVideo. Next up, we're going to go ahead and move to Canva and screencasting. Now, there is a missing piece here. My computer's being silly. We were just talking about internet, but we promised that this will all be added to the Wakelet for you to investigate. I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to Pili to talk about how she uses Canva in the classroom.
Yeah, well, I'm not very good at design like Maria is. And yeah, I have been using Canva for a while, and it has been amazing every time that I discover something new. And this week, I discovered that you can actually record your lessons within Canva. Like, it has a recorder, and I didn't know that. I had been using it to make headers and whatever you can think of that should make things pretty, because it already has a huge amount of templates. So a few months ago, I saw about how to do a presentation, and so I saw that they have a particular category where you can go into education lessons, so like education presentations. And so they have like science lesson or ELA lessons, and they have like with graphics according to the topic. So it's super amazing. So what you're seeing in the GIF is how you can actually select either one design for all your presentation, and then you just eliminate the pages that you don't need, or you can go page by page adding, which would allow you to make combinations, and that's awesome. And then once you're done, you can just either, you know, present as it is, or you can choose the option to record yourself as a video for flipped lessons. Now, if you already have been teaching the same subject for years, you probably already have presentations made, and you need to convert them into flipped lessons because, you know, distance learning and whatnot. So what the other thing that you can do is do a screencast and make a voiceover. Now, maybe you're kind of like I was when this thing started. You don't like to see yourself on screen. This is something that you eventually get used to. But at the beginning, you don't want your face in the presentation, but you do want to speak and explain what you're showing. So there are several screencasting tools that you can use. You use your favorite one. I like to use Loom because it's free for educators and has very good features in that particular plan. So I use Loom. I just put my screen alone. I use my voice to do the voiceover, and I combine it with WeVideo so I can make edits or add things to it. So I didn't make a GIF out of explaining how to do it, but I did insert it there. So you're gonna get this on the Wakelet. I inserted a video where I'm showing what I've done for my kids for a class. So it's like a 4-minute video that can be used for a flip lesson or a review. Either way, it's I think it's a super cool way to introduce a new topic. Like, you make your presentation and you start explaining. You don't want to get stuck like I do when I'm talking. Make a script. And since you're not being on camera, you can totally read it and nobody's going to know. And so, yeah, that's my recommendation.
Awesome.
To make your lessons better. Yes.
Yeah, I think so many individuals obviously right now have learned this kind of the capacity that there is for both synchronous and asynchronous lessons, right? And so screencasting is awesome, right? Because you can upload it also, do an app smash and upload it to Edpuzzle. Have you ever done that before, Pilly, or do you upload it to your LMS?
I actually did something that I didn't include here, but if you want, I can give the link so people can take it check it out. I use Sutori, which is another tool. I know, tool. But Sutori is a tool where you can put things like your lesson it's similar to Prezi somehow, but I think it has its own merit because you can put things in a timeline. And so you can choose to see it in the timeline, or you can click on present and it gives you kind of like a slide type form, but instead of going sideways, it goes downward. And the cool thing about it is that you can insert your videos and insert questions and insert forum questions, like for people to comment, like your students to comment on it with each other, or like quiz questions, like multiple choice or match, stuff like that. And so it's kind of versatile. I did a lesson introduction for last Friday. I could share the link if you'd like. Just let me look for it and then I'll put it on the chat.
No problem. And I do believe, Philly, if I'm not mistaken, you are leading a live stream about Sutori in the next week. You want to give some deets about that before we move on?
I am not doing the live stream, no. I was invited to participate by sharing a screencast of me explaining how I used it. But they're going to have a webinar on the 20th, which I think is Tuesday, something like that. I don't recall. I don't even know what day it is. But on the 20th, yes, they're going to do that. And they have their registration open. So, yeah, you can check out it in my Twitter. I share the link for registration, I think.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Philly, for sharing about Canva and screencasting. It seems quite a few people are big fans of Canva because of the templates and just the easy nature it is, to plug and play and go for it. So thanks for sharing that. And check out Pilly's when we share out this Wakelet. It'll have the slide deck, and you can check out Pilly's screencasting for voiceovers video there that she has for you. All right. So oh wait, we interrupt. Hold on. We have to take a moment, guys. We're going to interrupt this program, this scheduled program, for a commercial break. You're welcome. I'm a weirdo, but here we go. Listen, we wanted to maybe kind of take a little moment for just a second, because we've been hearing quite a bit that there is one thing that keeps coming up on teachers' minds. Now, listen, in this discussion we're about to have, we're going to need you guys all in the chat to participate, because we know that looking at that chat that there are so many exceptional educators, and we want to take a moment to talk about student-centered learning. So student-centered learning. Again, this is a graphic we found online by Todd Finley. I have linked this, so when you do get the slide deck, you can take a closer look. But we want to have just a quick little cleanse your palate before we move on to more tech with a conversation about student-centered learning. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So panel, I just have a couple questions for you, if you're willing and ready. And my first one, I am going to throw actually over to Jenna. If you're okay with it, Jenna, I'm going to ask you, talk to me about what your understanding of student-centered learning is. Just give us a brief definition.
It's putting the learning back in the students' hands. It's making them responsible for more than just showing up every day. But it also gives them the opportunity to relate to the content more and actually take it in rather than just sitting and listening to one of us talk for 45 minutes.
Great. It's awesome. And Mel, I'll go ahead and throw that same question over to you. How would you add anything to that definition?
I think what Jenna said was pretty boss. I mean, that sort of definition basically was like next level. I don't know what else I could add to that. I mean, just as long as your kids are involved, you know, as long as it's not just you. I mean, you do have students in the classroom, because if you're the one that's just talking the entire time, I mean, what's the point really? I mean, you do need to get the kids involved, right? They need to take some control. Obviously, they don't have to be the ones that's teaching the entire class the entire time. That is not like what this is necessarily about, you know, but it's just getting them actually involved in the process, you know, whether it's helping, you know, have suggestions for like an assessment task, that could be it. Or like running the group activities, having suggestions for them, or like getting their ideas basically. I know, rather than you be the one that is controlling everything and you're like, I am the boss, I am the leader, I need to do all the things. But no, okay, you have to like take a step back. So basically what Jenna said, okay, Jenna was the boss explainer right there. So you can ignore me, let's move on. Yes, very good.
No. See, we're better together. We're stronger together. That was in the very first slide. So thank you both for that definition. We also have Dr. Karen Jackson in the chat talking about how student centricity is all about allowing students to drive the learning. We have Kriya Kit from Twitch, I believe. Every moment is a teachable moment. So seizing on that, and I'm assuming she stepped by and let the kids lead. I love that so much. It really does emphasize student ownership in that regard. So my next question is I want to throw it over to Maria. So Maria, it's coming at you. Tell me, now that we have a definition of student-centered learning from all of us and our community listening, why is it so important? Why does it matter? You're muted. There, it's all good.
It gives it relevance for students. I think, the quote of giving students choice and voice is really relevant. If they don't have buy-in, they're not going to be as well engaged. So I think that's the crux of it, really. If you want that participation, then you have to give them the opportunities to be involved.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. I think that, you spoke to one really important kind of concept there, that idea of buy-in, right? Buy-in has to happen, or else you have just a bunch of disengaged students. And it's interesting to me because I think that, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that the pandemic has really kind of made it clear to a lot of educators across the world that if students are not buying in or they're not engaged, then they're less likely to have cameras on, to engage in the lesson, which, maybe they are gleaning something or learning, but at times that, doesn't give us a clear indication as to like where they're at in their understanding. My next question, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say, it encourages them to be independent learners. If we're just blah, blah, blah speaking at them, they have no reason to be engaged unless for some reason it does. But for the general, if we give them a bit of voice, a bit of something to, as we've said, buy in, they're more likely to continue on with that and maybe gain a deeper curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, I was gonna add to the idea that Maria says that like if you're talking, they might listen or not. They don't have a reason to be engaged. They also and they have this problem. This is my kids' problem. they've been used to teacher-centered learning. So when you try to make it student-centered, they don't know where to go. They don't know where to start, and usually they just rather don't do it, because it's like, I had the kid that told me, but you're the teacher. You're supposed to tell me these things. Like, why am I supposed to do the research? And so it's a leap if we don't do this since they're little. So it's very important to make them understand that your learning is yours. Like, nobody's going to learn for you. And so student-centered learning, just like Dr. Karen said, drives the student to learn, and everybody was mentioning this. It allows them to be, later on in their lives, lifelong learners.
Yeah.
If we continue to just let them be passive on it, then they won't do things for themselves. And they're going to grow up to be like some generation right now that don't want to learn any new stuff because nobody's teaching them. This is the situation that we have right now, right? Like, I don't want to try this because I need a training for it. You don't need training. You can just go ahead and look it up, But that's kind of like the mindset that needs to change. So student-centered learning will make these new generations of kids able to think for themselves, to say, if I want to learn it, I will look for a way to do it. I'm not going to need a teacher to do it,
Absolutely. That's a great word. Absolutely. And I think you just hit the nail on the head of like exactly what every educator is experiencing, right? Like we need to make this shift of just sit passively by and consume the information to being the co-creators of knowledge, taking ownership of your own learning. And it's challenging though. And so I guess that brings me to my next question. How do we shift our classes from like a teacher-centered environment to more of a student-centered one? Rick, you want to maybe take a stab at that one?
Sure. I would say little by little. This isn't something that can just flip overnight, right? It's maybe a lesson at a time. You choose to change it from teacher to student-centered. And a great way to do that is to give them, honestly, constraints. The thing that paralyzes me the most is too many options. And so we're big agents of saying, no, we want to give the students voice and choice. But if we give them all the choices, that's too much. So something I've had to deal with in my world, which is instrumental music, specifically beginner band, I need the kids to want to practice, but they don't necessarily want to learn Hot Cross Buns. A great song, don't get me wrong, it's a classic. However, it's not really exciting for a beginner student. On the plus side, pretty much everything that's a popular song right now, meaning it's something you can dance to on TikTok, any popular song basically only uses the 5 notes that they've learned so far, or can be used that way. So being able to say, find something that interests you and learn it with this. I've gotten way more student engagement with kids trying to figure out how to make some inappropriate song work on their trumpet, which is super fun. It's really neat to watch, but it is getting them practicing. And it's just the first step, right? Like, okay, find a song that you're interested in, but you got to play it on your instrument. So I gave them the framework that they can get creative on and focus them into working on something that interests them. So I think we can move it to student-centered that way, of having them find something they're interested in and then work from there.
Yeah, that's good. I think that interest is proven to be a beneficial tactic, right? Meet them where they're at. Jenna, you're on the screen right now, and I want to address this real quick. You say paralysis by analysis. Can you elaborate just a little bit on that?
So I'm neurodivergent. A lot of my students are. It's literally just, if you give me too many choices, I physically cannot make one. Like, my brain will not do it. It doesn't. There's too many things. There's too many different, too much to focus on, too many things to sort through. And rather than making a decision, you just shut down. Even something sometimes as simple as what's for dinner. I know that's everybody's argument in the house, right? For some folks, that's literally enough to lock up your brain like you forgot to put oil in the engine.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really great point. I love that analogy that you posed there at the end. I think that that really, kind of gives us a clear understanding of exactly what you mean. And, I think that oftentimes we do hear that idea of choice and voice, and like Rick and you added, that too much is never good, but there is value in giving them an opportunity to investigate, right? And so we need to remember, I hear you guys saying we need to remember depth, not breadth necessarily. Let them dive deep onto a concept that is of interest. And then we can kind of move from there. And I think also, maybe I'm wrong, but I also feel like, there's this idea of once they get the hang of it, and they get the hang of it, and they get the hang of it, if it's something that's kind of implemented from the get-go and you keep going and keep going, that eventually it becomes the norm, right? Or the routine or the culture. And I think that that's where we need to go in education, right? Like across the world, finding moments of transformation. But we also need to be realistic that it doesn't always work, right? It doesn't always function the way that we want it to, and it does take time. So, Mel, I'm going to throw this next question over to you, and then we're going to round it out. We're going to get back to our scheduled programming. But have there been experiences, or could you speak to moments maybe where you've tried to really focus lesson student-centered, but maybe they haven't worked out, and like how you maybe adjusted? I think we've all been there, but I think it'd be nice to hear kind of some pragmatic steps one could take.
So I had some interesting times. So my students are quite interesting, as I'm sure all of your students are very interesting. So mine are also very interesting. Okay, so moving on from the interesting. So basically, initially, I thought, choice is good, right? I want to give them different options, like present their ideas, or also like reviewing. So we had this test coming up. And so I made this slide. It was just one slide. I was trying to keep it simple.
Oh,
so
of course. Where, it's that moment. It's that moment. You're back. Tell us, you had a test coming up.
Yes. Okay. We had the test coming up. Okay. And then so I made this slide. So I had this one slide with links, like there were like 9 links on there. Okay, there were 9 buttons. They looked clear. I mean, they were clear. And it was like, IXL level 1, or like Khan Academy Dudo, textbook Dudo, and other thingo. So, but there were like 9 buttons. I was like, this should be enough to get them to what they want to do. And well, they were just like, what do I choose? How do I? Because I identified which skill like they needed to review or whatever. But then, they told me actually what they wanted was just like a practice test, like just a document. And some of them did want some videos. So some videos would have helped them. So like the next time I designed like a review task for them, I changed it so that it was a basic Google Doc. So they had a practice test, but then with links embedded to like videos basically. So just basically like it was a bit more simplified. So I thought, putting all these things for them, I thought that was like, I was trying to like give them all these things. They could just choose whatever. So it was more flexible, but it was too much for them. And this was in the early days of my first unit. So, you just needed to take a step back sometimes, and you get the feedback from the students. I think that's the thing to take away from here, is that you need to get that from the students. They're going to share with you, that it's like, so how did this go? So was this okay? Did you like having these choices? And they'll be honest. I mean, they'll tell you that was too much. We just wanted this or whatever. So I think it's important to take into account how they're feeling about it, and then just change it from there, and then slowly introduce stuff again.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So there you go, guys. If you are trying and it doesn't work out the way you want it to work, remember, feedback is essential and flexibility matters so much. One last little point I would make about this is, when you are making those shifts with anything within your classroom, even if it is, you're going to start to design lessons like we're talking about, using some of the tools that we've already introduced. If it doesn't work, don't give up. Let it go again. Try it again. Because I think a lot of times we try something, it doesn't work, we feel embarrassed in front of our students, and then we just give up and go back to like routine as normal. But routine as normal is never going to bring around transformation and growth like we need across the world in education. So I'm going to spur you on, and we're going to shoot for that. So back to our regular programming, if we will. We're going to go ahead and continue with the resources. And, even though she just counted us off, we're going to move on to Mel. Can you talk to us a little bit about whiteboard chat, please?
Goodness gracious me. Can't believe it's me already. It's a bit ridiculous. But anyway, here I am. Hello, everyone. Yes, I am the Mel. Yes, I was eating an empanada earlier, but now you can actually hear me talking, which is fantastic. Okay, you'll notice that there is this thing that says whiteboard.chat there. So we're just talking about like different things that we like to use in our lessons that help us, you know, present information or whatever, get kids involved. So, and I don't want this to feel like you're like, oh my God, another tool. I have to learn another thing. And what is this whiteboard.chat thing? This thing looks so crazy. Look at all those buttons and all those things on there. Don't worry, okay? You do not need to feel like you have to go and use this tool immediately. I'm just going to tell you about how I'm using it and how it's effective for me, okay? But there's no pressure. Okay, so number one. So whiteboard.chat is you might have heard about it. It's an interactive whiteboard tool. You like whiteboard.file, like Jamboard, except this one you can have like 100 people in there, like 40 pages of stuff, and you can basically embed anything you can ever think of. But anyway, my first point here is the grid view. So this is the thing that I like the best about it, because I can see all the students working live. So all of the things are like the grid. So it's like when you're like in slides and you can put the grid view too, but this, you can make individual student boards. So the students are on their own trying to solve a problem, just drawing on that. And I teach mathematics, by the way, but this doesn't just work for math, it's for any subject. But you can just see, and you can give them feedback immediately. You can draw on their screen, you can drag a sticker to their screen, whatever it is. Okay, and the students say, you know, okay, this works virtually and also in person, but they have this little hand raise feature, so they can click on that to say that, hey, I'm done, or can you check me? And there's also a thing for bathroom break. Can I go to the toilet? There is also that now. But anyway, that's me getting off the topic. But anyway, my big thing, that the reason why I like using it is so that I can see the students working live. I can give them feedback as soon as possible, and then they can also ask me for help super easy. I use Zoom, so I mean, like looking at the chat in the Zoom and then also looking at that is a bit hard. So they have a chat inside whiteboard chat, so I can communicate to them in there, so they don't have to come back to the Zoom to communicate with me or to unmute or whatever. They can just use the chat within the platform, and it's directly in the web browser. Okay, I'm not advertising whiteboard chat. What am I doing? I'm saying how it's useful for me. The other thing is the one-stop shop. Okay, you'll notice in my second gift thing that I have there, I made like some tiles for algebra where they can like move around and like rearrange to make like terms, or, you know, put like terms together and simplify expressions. But the fact is that whiteboard chat, for me, I like it because I can embed all the things like Nearpod. So I also use Nearpod, okay, but in whiteboard chat, you can put videos in there, you can put websites, you can embed a Google form in there. I mean, you can do whatever you like. You can put a PDF. So a lot of teachers or math teachers, maybe some, maybe just me, and maybe some colleagues of mine, they like to like embed PDFs, and it will put all the pages in there for you, so kids can just write them up right on them, like Kami, you know, for example, but it's inside all this one platform. I also put some random links of like how to get started with it and some things that are useful. I'm also doing a webinar on the 28th for those that want to see me there. So I'm not going to talk any more about that. But the biggest thing, whiteboard.chat, the reason why it's on that slide for me, okay, is because of the feedback and the live work. Because it's so hard when they're remote to see what the kids are doing. Like, I think it's important for them to put stuff in their notebook, but a lot of the kids, they have like bad internet, as they really struggle to like upload photos and stuff like that. You can also put photos, by the way, in whiteboard.chat. But anyway, I mean, like, you can see them draw on there. And it doesn't have to be on a Jamboard where they can all see each other. You know, some of them are shy about their work. They want to just do their own thing. And whiteboard.chat's good for that. You can also use it for group work, but I'll stop there. That's too much, okay? If you have questions, just write in the chat and I'll answer them. Yes, very good. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so Mel is a whiteboard.chat boss. She's going to be leading that webinar. We put her Twitter link in the chat. Go ahead and follow her to stay up to date on everything that she has coming up. I know she also has a pretty epic slide deck because she just did a training on this for her school site. So
let me interrupt Shannon there for a moment, because that slide deck came basically from Shannon, because she's also a whiteboard.chat boss. Yes, okay. She created this slide deck, and I had to do a training on whiteboard.chat. So I was like, oh, Shannon, can I use your slide deck? No problem. So I basically just adapted her. So she's also a boss, okay? We're all bosses here of different things.
Well,
Okay,
thank you.
I'll mute myself.
Thank you, Mel. Appreciate that. But she does have a lot of epic things that she'd be happy to share with you. I'm sure she's always sharing on Twitter. So follow her there. And again, we're talking about lesson design and delivery. This is just another alternate way to have a self-contained kind of almost classroom in a virtual manner, right? The whiteboards are great for writing on, right? Getting your students to digitally like scribe. But whiteboard.chat offers so much more than that, like Mel laid out for us. And so if you're looking for a one-stop shop or a one-stop area or platform, I would encourage you to check it out. It's a great resource. And obviously, there's a lot of people online that are willing to support you in that. All right, we're going to continue on. We're coming down to the last 10 minutes, but we have another goodie. And so we're going to go ahead and throw it over to Jenna to talk about one of my favorite platforms ever. Jenna, tell us about Pear Deck.
I love Pear Deck, and I've gotten so many of my teachers at my school using it. We are hybrid. We have been hybrid since the end of October. So I've got anywhere from one kid in front of me to up to 8 at any given point, and I've got anywhere from 7 to 15 online in the same block. And I know one thing that's been really a struggle for all of us has been, how do we make sure that the kids that are in front of me and the kids that I'm, communicating with on Zoom are both engaged and they're both getting it, and I'm not teaching to one crew or the other more or less. Hybrid life is hard. It's craziness. But one thing that's really helped us has been using Pear Deck. It does have 2 levels. For most of what you're doing, you can get away with the free edition. It does come with a premium for, I think it's the first 30 days you get it. It works with slides. It works with Microsoft PowerPoint if that's what you're using. You've got all kinds of different question types. And the best part is, I know somebody mentioned this earlier, if you've been teaching your content for a while, you've got all the presentations and you've got all the slideshows. You're not changing any of those things. You're taking what you've already built or what you would do and adapting it and allowing yourself and allowing your kids to be able to answer questions and interact with the content live. It does have a student pace mode in the premium edition, which is really nice. We've been doing it where my kids have to watch the video and they can actually go through and fill in the notes by writing on the slide. I'll set it to where they can draw on it and they can fill in the notes. And then because we do have the premium edition, I publish the takeaways at the end of it. So I get to see that my kids have actually taken the notes and interacted with the content. And then I can publish them and they'll get their whole notes as a Google Doc at the end so that they're still engaged. They're still taking the notes, but they have something physically to be able to go back and look at. Even if they're not in the classroom where I can hand them a piece of paper and say, here, write these notes down or do these practice problems. And I can show their work with or without names because some of my kids are shy. I can give them live feedback right on their slide so that they can, I can say, I can just tell somebody in the chat, go back to slide 7. And I've left a note on there that says, hey, you forgot to distribute this negative. Try this problem again. And so I'm still giving them that. It's not quite immediate feedback, but it's much quicker than if I let them submit it and then it's a couple of days before I can grade it. It's much quicker. I also really like the dashboard just because I can watch what they're all doing and I can see, hey, Rick, why aren't you, did you need help with that problem? Is that why you're not doing your work?
Nice.
They don't like that so much.
No.
Oh, hey,
calling them out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they love it, but they hate it. There are quite a few. I know somebody mentioned in the chat that there are quite a few pre-made templates. Like I know Earth Day is coming up. They'll send you even a reminder a couple of days before. Hey, Earth Day is coming up. Here's some pre-made slide decks to help you out. But mostly it's the fact that I can see what they're doing. I don't have to go. I had a teacher I was working with that he was losing so much time when we were virtual only at the beginning, and we only had 45-minute sessions with our kids. He was losing all this time going, oh, here's the warm up, and here's the actual slides with the lesson, and then here's a link for the Google form for the exit ticket, and we can just put all that in there. You can put a link right in there for your exit ticket. You can do your exit ticket right in Pear Deck and let the kids write right on it, and you're not losing that time going all these different places.
That's awesome.
It's been a game changer for some of our teachers. I cannot recommend it enough. And for whatever reason, the same problem as a couple others have had. When y'all get the slide deck, there's a video of the premium edition in there. It's not just a random red line, I promise.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. So guys, interactive slides has become a wonderful tool. And there's a lot of different ones, Pear Deck, Nearpod, etc., that have, come out. And I think they're around, to be honest. The cool thing is you can do them student paced, instructor paced, right? So that even that asynchronous feedback is really, really wonderful. So thanks so much for sharing, Jenna. Alrighty, that is bringing us to the end. And before we wrap up here in the next few minutes, we would like to give all of you a space to ask any questions that you might have about lesson design and delivery. Or if you don't have a question, perhaps you would like to share a resource that you have found beneficial for lesson design and delivery. We'll just leave a space for that for a moment, and then we will go ahead and transition and do our closure. But while they're adding their pieces into the chat, let me see. We're going to do a quick kind of wrap around real quick. I'm going to start with the order on the actual stream here. So Maria, I'm coming at you, and I'm catching them off guard, guys. Maria, what would you, if somebody came to you and said, you know what, and this is going to go for everybody, I am new at design. I've never really considered design with my lessons before. What would be the first piece of the advice you would give them?
I would say reach out to your PLN and look on YouTube and Twitter and look at examples of what other people are doing and what sort of programs are popular relating to your same setting. So whether it's primary, secondary, STEM, etc., would be my first go-to.
That's awesome. Great answer. Pili, would you add anything to that?
I would say I would ask, what do you use right now? And then give them an idea of how to improve those before having them find out something new. Like, for instance, if you're already using Slides or PowerPoint, then go and check out Slides Mania, because she has so many templates that you can use. Like Leslie said at the beginning, templates for me, because I can't be creative. I have the same issue. So I relate to Leslie on that point. First thing to do would be to improve what you already have instead of going for something new, I guess. So that's what I would recommend to somebody who would be asking that.
All right, great. Jenna, what about you? Was there any advice you'd give to a newbie or even a veteran who's trying to get into more of the design game?
I'm a firm believer that the best PD is the teacher down the hall, because they're in the same boat with you. They know what's going on. They know what works for your kids, because my kids are different than your kids, Shannon, or Maria's, or anybody else's. Not just my content, but my kids. I'm also very bad with the whole creative. I need all the templates like Leslie, because that's just not how my brain is wired. But I think it's taking what they're doing and making one tweak to make it easier. Find one thing. Don't try to jump off the bridge into, the ocean. Jump into the pool. Don't try to be, everything's got to be, I need this new tool and this new tool. Find one thing. Just one.
Love that. Good advice. All right, Mel, we're throwing it over to you. Anything to add?
Sure. So I'm just being amused by people in this amazing panel that we have here, and admiring, of course, of everyone that has been shared. I think that what everyone shared is the main thing. I mean, like, don't be afraid, but also don't feel like you have to do everything on your own. I mean, everyone has said, I mean, like, use your resources, use the people around you. Don't feel like every single time you go to whatever it is that you're using, creating a quiz. So someone mentioned before, like Quizzes or like Kahoot or like Edpuzzle or Nearpod or Pear Deck or Canva or whatever, all of those things. I mean, obviously there is an option to start from scratch and you can go and do everything from the beginning, but I mean, there are templates. You just need to talk to people also if you don't feel confident exploring on your own, and people are going to help you out. And I mean, as what I think Dr. Karen Jackson also mentioned, like, it's step by step. And the other, like Jenna said, don't go and drown somewhere, okay? We don't want you to drown, okay? We like you to swim, float, survive, okay? So, like, we're here to help you, okay? Well, okay, yes, us, but also not just us. I mean, like, your PLN, whoever you're connected to, we're here for you. I don't even know what I talked about, but fantastic. Go, Rick. Have fun.
Fantastic. All right, Rick, what do you say?
Pass. No, I would say pretty much just echoing what everybody else here said. I think an important thing to do is find out what's working for other people, because no teacher should have to feel like an island. And I know a lot of newbies feel that way, that they're just thrown in like, I got hired, I'm ready to do this. And then the first week of school comes and they go, oh no. What would help is talking to the person near them, down the hall. And I think also echoing what Peely said, like, if you already know a tool, start there. Maybe you're not an expert with the Adobes. I understand that's a thing that's popular with people. But you could do the Adobes. If you're not comfortable with the Adobes, try the Google Slides. Pick a tool that you kind of know, and then just learn a little something new each day. Like, I tried to do that with Whiteboard Chat, but of course they keep adding something new every day, so I will never keep up. But yeah, just find a new thing and just slowly expand is what I would say.
Yes, all of these things, 100% yes. And you know what else? I'll add to that, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I want to say, you know what? If I've learned anything over the last year, a little over a year, I would say that risk taking right now is easier than it has been in past years, because nobody is doing things exceptionally. And so take the risk. And I want to reiterate, with that pool metaphor, Dr. Karen Jackson mentioned, maybe just sitting on the pool step is enough. Understand that risk taking looks different for every single person. And the number one thing that's going to bog you down is comparing your own classroom practice with those around you. Go at your own pace, take your own risks, and truly be the best teacher that you can be in this moment. But always stretch yourself. That would be my recommendation. And so if you're not familiar with the digital imaging or creation platforms, just go try and see what happens. What do you have to lose? Because it may work out and you never know. Alrighty, that brings us to the end. And we just want to point out that we are going to be live again on Saturday, June 12th, 13th, if you're in Australia's time zone. And we are so excited. We are going to be talking everything post-lesson. So we did pre-lesson back in February. We're currently talking about lesson design and delivery during the lesson. And so next time we will be talking about post-lesson focus. If you're not following us on Twitter, I would recommend you go do that right now at Ask Us Anything ET. The @ Ask Us Anything ET. We would be happy to continue the conversation as we move forward. So without further ado, we are so grateful for all of you. We're grateful for Global GEG to allow us to have this platform and share all of the good insights. Please like and subscribe our video, and thank you so much for being here.